guys and gals? Nary here from Drake Wing Gaming, and subbing to me on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Kingsguard, Leandros' Path. So y'all, before we jump into it, just wanted to let y'all know that our Patreon is now for as little as $5. Y'all can help support the channel and get some awesome rewards like permanent access to our community Discord server and full access to upcoming Not Safe for Work videos. All that for as little as $5, y'all. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right back into it. Alarm saying you are up, and let's go. See some men. Okay. Alright, you closed your eyes and hoped to wait it out. A strange aroma then began to bother your nose. It was a pungent scent, like that of rotting trash masked by a large spritz of lavender perfume. As more of the nobles gathered in, it became apparent where it was wafting in from. Obviously, some of those in the crowd might have skipped far too many baths. Once everyone was in, the doors were closed and the priest began his speech. Several more moments passed and you felt more unsettled than usual. The smell became more pungent with time. You questioned if some animal had died right outside. Your throat felt shriveled and dried, and your mouth no longer produced saliva to even swallow, and the irritation in your throat now burned. You stifled multiple coughs. It might have been something that you ate, or perhaps you just caught someone's cold. A twister of discomfort ravaged your stomach, and a wave of muggy heat crashed upon your being. If this was some side effect from being in that pool of light for so long, someone was going to get it for not pulling you out sooner. Either way, you wanted it or the coronation to just end. The high priest's voice echoed magnificently in the room, but to you it sounded dull and lifeless. Jake. Your attention was transfixed on the curve of the marble on the floor. It evoked images of the beach at sunset. The nobles below looked slightly puzzled. King Jake. Your father snapped you back from your stupor. It was your cue, and you stepped forward to stand by his side. The high priest continued his speech. Hey, are you feeling all right? You seem a bit out of it. Your father spoke in hushed tones without turning his head. You did the same to avoid drawing attention. I'm okay. This cloak is just making me a little uncomfortable right now. Hold on for just a little longer. Once the priest is done and we swap crowns, you can take it off. You hoped it wouldn't take too long. The high priest seemed to lengthen his speech for effect, and you found yourself tapping your feet. Thankfully, they were hidden behind the cloak. You hoped it would be over soon. Your legs began to shake, and your knees showed signs of buckling. Now we pass the burning flame of our nation from one to another. Who now will lead us to glory? The priest turned around to face the two of you. Who now will lead our great nation? Your father got down on one knee and bowed his head low. Despite all of this being rehearsed and part of tradition, it was still another rare chance for you to see your father in a humble position. Just as scripted, the priest stepped forward and gently lifted the crown from your father's head. Seeing him without the decoration was like seeing a cat shaved of all its fur. It was almost unnatural. Even Leandros seemed to be unnerved by the sight, though as you glanced more closely, you noticed he was a bit stiffer than usual. Actually, he wasn't even watching he wasn't even watching you or your father. No, his eyes were focused intently on the crowd. His hands tensed on the hilt of his blade as though he were about to draw it. Something wasn't right. It was the same for Kashiro and Ramos. Both of them had an intense glare in their eyes, and looked ready to jump forward into the crowd at a moment's notice. Several people were moving around within the crowd, silently, but you could see several nobles being pushed out of their path. Who now will ensure that we thrive into tomorrow? As the priest walked over towards you with the crown in your hands, you bowed your head low as well, keeping an eye on the crown ahead. The light silver coronet upon your head was lifted up and then replaced with a heavy golden crown. Slowly, you rose. There is only one we have deemed fit to bear this burden. I present to you King Jake Lur-Yasan. You couldn't hear the footsteps anymore. The sounds of clapping echoed through the hall masked it. Your heart stopped beating for a second, and you felt a sudden emptiness. Leandros and Kashiro had vanished from your view. A wave of unsettling heat swept through the room, and the hairs on your arms stood on end. Dark purplish vapors rose up from where the mass of nobles stood. It slithered along the floors and crawled up the walls. Within seconds, the entire room was surrounded in a hazy mist. You looked around frantically. The mist started to obscure your view, and soon you couldn't see but a few feet ahead of you. Father! He stayed put, focused ahead where the nobles were, his eyes wide as though he had seen a ghost. You couldn't make out what he was staring at, but you did notice movement ahead of you swirling about in the mysterious fog. Father! Even when you screamed louder, he still didn't turn. He shook his head, eyes full of fright as his mouth opened in horror. Then you heard it. A piercing scream from the dark, high-pitched and blood-curdling. Several more voices joined in, collecting together in dissonance, crescendoing into a cacophony of shrieks and wails. The sounds of blades slicing through the air, tearing cloth, and stomping feet gave you all the clues you needed to hear. Smoke wasn't anything more than a cover. The assassins had arrived. The mist parted for just a moment, giving you enough time to see the chaos below you. The nobles scattered around like ants, bumping and pushing into each other. They were being blindly slaughtered, all of them defenseless as their escorts turned on them, waving their swords around like maniacs. At least 24 nobles had collapsed to the floor, half of them dead, the other half tripping over those same lifeless bodies. No! You eyed the side of the room, hoping to see Marilyn and Esther, but all you could see was more smoke. A malevolent voice resonated through the room. Its timbre was so low the windows shattered and small cracks appeared in the marble pillars. Even your bones felt as though they were about to snap. It wasn't from the mouth of any living being. Not even a beastman was capable of such a tone. It's like, no, water time. Coffee time, I should say. Alright. Your head felt full and stuffed as though someone had over-injected molasses into your skull. A pus-like substance bubbled out of your ears and dirtied your clothes. At first, the voice sounded like nonsense, incoherent chanting, but through the ramble you caught meaning, enlightenment. Kill. Destroy. The voice grew louder and a strange compulsion fell over you. The need to draw your blade and bury it deep into the heart of another. Your father was the one who made things this way. Forced you into this. He was the reason for everything wrong in your life. He had to pay for this, and there was no other option. You looked at your pitiful father. He was defenseless, and your blade was much too clean. You reached for the blade at your side and straggled forward. He was easily within reach. It would not take but a second. No. No, it had to last longer than that. Minutes. Hours. Days. You could make it last as long as possible. He would suffer for an eternity. As your hand brushed the handle of your blade, a burning sensation ran up your arm. You tripped over your own cloak, plummeted to the floor, and rolled down the stairs. A furnace blazed from inside you, trailing from your hand through your heart and up to your brain. It was almost unbearable, but the pain didn't matter right now. Jake! Are you alright? Say something! Your father leaned down near you. His hand gripped your shoulder as he brought you up and turned you to face him. No words came out, only ragged breaths. I can't understand what you're saying, damn it! We must get you out of here! Leandros! The enchanting voice grew louder. Its words swirled together, and the compulsion to kill came back twicefold. Kill. I have to. What are you talking about? Your vision blurred. It wouldn't be long before your eardrums burst and your brain melted within your skull. He was now within range. You just had to ignore this pain. Once more you gripped the handle of your sword. Another surge of heat coursed through your veins. The pain you were feeling suddenly subsided, or at least dulled. The voice that once pounded at your skull now felt like a distant echo, and your eyes adjusted ever so slightly to the smoke. You stared at your father. No longer did you feel the need to end his life so early. We failed, didn't we? Jake, you must never give up, even when all seems lost. We will make it through this. He didn't sound convinced in his own words. Yesterday you saw him for the first time as a frail, grieving man, haunted by his mistakes. Now you saw him terrified, his lips quivering and hands shaking. But even if his own advice didn't shake his fear, he was right. This was no time to give in. Leandros, where the hell are you? The royal guards below were doing the best that they could to hold back the encroaching chaos. Both the nobles trapped below and the assailants were being pushed back from getting any closer. The lion kicked back an assassin before breaking away from the blockade to join you. Jake! Help him up! We need to get moving! It's like, no, water time. Ooh, this is intense. All hell breaking loose now! Take my hand, Jake. Leandros pulled you up to your feet and held you close. Thank you. I think I can stand on my own now. Are you sure? I can carry you if need be. I'm good. Leandros hesitantly let go of you while you had to catch yourself. You were standing just fine. The unknown voice changed tone once more. You couldn't understand the words as clearly as before, but as the assassins all halted their attack on the nobles and turned their attention upwards towards the throne, you knew who their new targets were. They're coming! As if in one mind, the assassins all piled forward, pushing each other as they tried to reach you and your father. Your own soldiers braced for the rush. They packed themselves tightly together, planted their feet, and raised their shields. The only openings were from tiny slits in the barricade that they poked their swords through. The killers below impaled themselves, but it did little to stop them from continuing their march. Hold tight! Do not let them pass! Die! A lone assassin hacked his way through a small opening and charged towards the stairs. Leandros raised his blade and immediately moved himself in front of you and your father. No, you don't! Ramos rushed in from the side, slamming into the soldier and twisting his arm until he dropped his weapon. The rhino punched him 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and the soldier fell to his knees. With one final kick to the killer's face, he was sent flying back down the stairs where a soldier at the bottom brought a sword to his neck. Ramos! What are they still doing here? If they aren't going to fight, get them out of the way! The soldiers below became overwhelmed as the enemy doubled their efforts, their strength overpowering your guards and pushing them even further back up the stairs. The wall of soldiers that separated you from the maddening chaos below was about to break, and only be seconds before the full assault of the attackers would rush you. Jake, we need to get you out of here. Can you walk? You straggled forward a few steps as a test and nodded your head. Marilyn and Esther have their ship waiting in the harbor. We will use that to escape. No, take Jake and flee. I'm staying behind. What? No! Jake, this is the one time I will not tolerate your disobedience. I am your father and your king, and you will listen to what I say. I've never run away, and I won't now. They will not succeed in whatever plan they are plotting. Your Majesty, if they get to... Leandros, keep Jake safe, please. Kashiro, fall back! Your father dashed off. You don't know where, but Kashiro was quick to listen and ran after him. You took a step forward to follow when Leandros pulled back. Let go! Jake, listen to him. Right now we need to get you to safety. Leandros, let go of me right now! You struggled in Leandros' grasp, but he held you even tighter. I won't lose you! Leandros gripped both of your shoulders and turned you toward him. It's not just my duty to protect you. I have to protect you! Please, just listen! Leandros' eyes welled with tears, but as you looked back at him, your father was still getting further and further away. The soldiers below started to climb the stairs, being pushed back step by step until they were just a few strides away. What is he still doing here, Leo? Leandros slightly released his grip on you, enough for you to make an escape. Hide in the castle, leave into the fray. Ha! Oh! Well, hello. Hello. We have something cool here. There we go. We have the branching paths. Sweet. Begin Leandro's path. The blockade was close to being overwhelmed as the assailants swarmed forward. You didn't even think as your body moved on its own. Jake! You pushed him away from you and ran, not knowing what else to do or where to go. Leandros reached out and grabbed onto your robe, but as he pulled back, the signet popped off. Like a snake, you shedded the mantle. He was left gripping the thick fabric as you raced out of the throne room. His voice called for your name as the assassins finally broke through. You took a few deep breaths. It had been so long since you had ran that hard in your life. It was now quiet as you rested your hand on the wall. It felt reassuring to finally get away from the chaos in the throne room, but at the same time a nagging sense of cowardice hung over your consciousness. You brought your sword for a reason, to help defend yourself and possibly others. But your brain kept telling you to run, hide, and survive. You cursed yourself for not staying behind with the rest of the soldiers to help fight back. You were more than capable of doing that. Second hill. Coffee time. And then there was your father. Wherever he ran off to, was he really planning on staying here? You wish you had followed him. As you glanced around, gaining your bearings as to where you were, you noticed one thing that had followed you. It was the smoke, still eerily crawling around the room and swirling around your feet. And the noxious scent, while not as strong, was still there. Die! Oh! A knight dressed in your nation's own armor swung his blade forth, missing you by a hair. As you stumbled out of his reach, his blade became buried deep into the wall behind you. What the hell? A power behind his swing sent shivers down your spine. The whir of the blade was still ringing in your ears. With as deep in the castle as you were, and so far away from the throne room, you thought you had escaped the assassins, yet here one stood. Though it shouldn't have come as a surprise. If they had infiltrated the castle, they could be anywhere. The assassin pried his blade out from the wall and sent chunks of stone and wood flying. Stay back! You reached for the blade at your side and released it from its harness. Whoever the hell you are, leave at once! You heard a deep laugh from within the man's helmet. You could already tell he wasn't human. He was rather large, and the elongated shape of his helmet matched that one of a beastman would wear. He put a hand up to his face as though he was going to take off his helmet to reveal himself. Rather, he brought out his unnaturally sharp and thick nails and dug into the helmet, peeling away at the metal until you could see the face beyond the mask. He had the face of what you assumed to be a wolf, but the detail that caught your interest was his eyes. They were pitch black like the shadowed halls of the catacombs. Protect the prince! Your Highness, get back! Intrusions. You will not lay a hand on the prince. Prepare to die for your transgressions against the royal family. The wolf moved quickly as the soldiers closed in with their swords. The assailant's strength was unreal. One swing was all it took to sweep the soldiers off their feet and bat them away. What? The strength? How? So weak. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!